Hey, this is Professor Triplet. Does anybody want to get this thing done? I do. So it's very late at night. I want to get this all put together so everybody can get finished and go have a good summer. If I start to babble or nod off, I apologize. Alright, so let's get going here. I duplicated this piece. I'm going to delete that because I'm going to use this in various places. So let's go ahead and just get going with that. Alright. So as you can see, pretty simple. Let's turn this back to, let's make an object. Let's see. Something kind of like that. And there we go. Alright, so now that can be mirrored this way, but I'm just going to go ahead and do a center pivot here. Hit Control D. And drag that down. And then let's go ahead and combine these. If I can find the combine. There we go. And we'll mirror it. Now what I like to do with this is change this to negative. And we just pull this right over there. And that'll make our lives a lot easier rather than having to line those up again. Okay. Well, that part's done. Now we can do the same thing. Control D. We can actually rotate it right from here if we want to go just about in the right spot. And then just lower it. Delete that. Now this is one of those areas where you could turn on preserve UVs. Change this to component and see if you can get it to go back like so. Oops, what did I do? Let's try that again. Looks a little wonky there. Okay, I think that'll be okay though. Not sure why the orientation changed just from pulling it a little bit, but whatever. So if you want to have this a little bit more rounded like it is in the image, let's see here. That's very strange to me. Oh yes, I'm sorry, component, that's why. So I have to do this one at a time. We can just go to edge slide here and change this to so if you actually look at this in the image, the reference image kind of has a little bevel on the top there, so I'm just kind of replicating that. And then let's go ahead and just grow that selection. Actually, gonna shrink it one more, scale it down a little bit, so turn that off like so. Maybe pull it a little bit out, and then actually for this one we're going to want to extrude in a little bit like that. Plain something like that. Yeah, that ought to do it. Alright. Now, one thing we have to realize though is that this is going to be kind of screwed up when it comes to UVs now. So I'm just going to put a planar map on it. You can see that right there. Alright, and then I'm just going to grab all the edges but one. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I'll have to not do that. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay, why I'm doing this is so I can split it. So just do a cut. And then from here, you should just be able to unfold it. There we go. Unfolds nicely. And if you don't want this thing on here, you can cut this last one too. I just left it on there. Actually, I probably prefer it to be... let's cut that. Probably prefer it to be maybe somewhere over here connected. Or we'll just leave it be. Let them stay detached. Okay. Now this I like to do an alignment, so let's see, actually orient shell. And these can be pulled off somewhere else for now. Okay. Alright, now that might be a little bit big now that I'm looking at it. So let's just go like this a little bit, like that. Oops. Okay, so you see how it popped back? Watch this. That means preserve UV is still on. So just turn that off. And we'll just go ahead and duplicate this. Let's center pivot it. Control D. Pull it down here. And I'm kind of just eyeballing it, obviously. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now I believe this one is a little bit more round. You can see it right there. It's kind of got little shiny highlights on it. So in that case, we want to get rid of that. We're going to want to just grab all these vertices. And we'll average verts and see what it looks like. And then let's just do it a few times. Not bad. Not the best, but not bad. And pull that out a little bit. Maybe just scale it a slight tad. Oops. There we go. I think that will do. Still want to lay in an edge right here. That's going to establish a 180 degree straight line going back. Okay, so then of course mesh display, smooth or soften edges I should say. Yeah, There we go. Now if we check this, oops, wrong button. Okay. Since it's different now, we should probably just see what happens if we unfold it. Yeah, you see like that. You get a different result. This you can go ahead and straighten UVs if you want. You can see that looks really nice. And we could just move these off to the side. Alright, if you remember correctly, we have something really similar as far as holes go right below. So let's go and unhide the base. Say Control D, duplicate that, bring it down. And this one's going to need a little bit of adjustment. So probably better just to grab it vertex by vertex. And I'm going to slide these. Get this one too. Like so. See if we can slide these at the same time. See if sometimes I don't like to go at the same time in a certain direction, so you gotta sort of do that by hand. And then of course we've got this situation happening inside here where these are not really looking right. Let's go ahead and just move this up a little bit. See if we can just barely hug that thing right there. So if I come here, turn that off, I can just kind of slide that out. Hopefully this thing still looks like a nice circle when I smooth it. So I can just go ahead and just change this to component. Let's use our transform vertices, which is right there. So now I can just kind of move it along its normals, and that should get it closer to where I want it. We can see it looks a little bit off, so let's just slide it up a little bit. Slide it that way and slide it back. Actually, that's another way you can do this. You can slide it close to one edge and then slide it back, and it averages it out. So that would actually been an easier approach had I thought of it right away. So let's just go ahead and hit F3 and see what we're getting here. Pull that up just a little bit. Pull that up just a little bit. So I'm just hand adjusting this. Looks like I'm hitting this edge here, so let me just pull that down just a tad. There we go. I think that's gonna work. As long as everything looks like it's still nice and smooth. No artifacting. Looks pretty good. Now let's look at it without being smooth. You see at some point when I pulled this thing all the way out, this thing was like that. So I could tell because I couldn't move it any further. And the slide edge has a function like that. When your vert hits another vert, it'll stop moving. So it's good now. There I go yawning. Pardon me. Okay, so now the rest of the video is basically just going ahead and finding all the spots that need these little things. Like you can see there's one right here. So, you know, you could duplicate this and rotate it around, get it right in line with the two that I just made. And you can just pull these down about right there. You can actually pull it right here and see if it's lining up. Get it lined up a little bit better, and then pull it back up. And what you want to do too is look at like relationships like this, this, and this. And if we look at this here, we can see that everything's lining up nicely. Okay, so that's a good form. There's a little tiny prong that's right here. Let's address the inside of this though right now. So let's go ahead and just unhide. Let's see. Let me pull this into here. Okay, so where is that? Well, this is actually pretty easy. Let's just go ahead and duplicate this, Control D, and I'll rotate it a little bit, like so. And then I'll scale it in just a tiny bit, like so. Move it up. Yeah, what's funny? Hold on a second. I wonder if I scaled that wrong. Well, that looks pretty good. Move that like that. And then we just want to grab from there and just grow the selection until we see it. Oops. There. So say delete. And then we can do the same thing down here. Like so, and just grow your selection. I'm just undoing one, so I'm going to hit delete. And then this should just be one little section here. That's actually all we need, is from here to like here. And then we can just Control-Shift-I will invert your selection. You can just delete out the rest. So now we have just a little back plate that we can see, so that we don't see inside there. Looks like it can come out a little bit. I'm actually gonna just scale it out a little bit. Since my pivot's in the middle, it'll still scale properly. So that looks okay. We need a little prong there. And then there's a few odds and ends. I think for this one, I'm going to use this to go up here and just make it smaller. Something probably more like that. Let's look at the picture. Kind of fuzzy, but I think it's more flat. maybe splitting hairs at this point. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but what the heck, we've gotten it this far, right? So let's just go ahead and flatten that out. And then just snapped it right there. Get rid of those. Yeah, we gotta get rid of those. Okay. Now, I just want the inner circle here, and I want to grow it out a little bit. Like so. And we don't need that much going into the back there, so I'm just gonna, actually it's probably easier just to cut it. Let's move this back first of all. So move it back like so. I think that's about right. Probably even less. Something like that. And so one of the reasons why you want to move something like this up is because it's wasting UV space. Alright, so you only get so much UV space, especially like if you're working in games. You only get so much UV space and texture res. So you want to make sure that you optimize your maps. So in this case, I can go ahead and just turn on preserve UV. Hopefully it functions right. Slide this up to about right there. And then that should be fine. Turn off the preserve UV. And you can see it in here. This thing is shortened up compared to the way it was. There we go. Okay, so this is all about details. So I think I'm going to stop here because I think the rest is self-explanatory. You just have to go around. Now I know that there are there's like these little, they're just like this thing kind of, but they're even smaller and they're tacked in to the around the base here. So let me actually look at that really quick. I guess it doesn't hurt to point it out. Alright, let's see if we can catch one of them. There's one right there. So let's go off to the side here. I think I hid some of my references instead of yeah, I hid them in the outliner instead of in here. So that's what it looks like right there. And there might only be one. Is there only one? I don't at the moment have the actual lamp sitting next to me, so I'm going to assume that there's just one and that it's kind of on this side. There might be one on the other side I don't know about, but if I don't know, then this one's fine. Alright, so Control D, move it over here. Pull out the base. I think looks like it's about more over here. So again, I'm eyeballing this a little bit, but that's okay in this case. It could always be adjusted anyway. There we go. Alright. Last thing is the light bulb, and you know what? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Just make a little cylinder, make a quad sphere. You can connect the quad sphere to the cylinder if you make it the right amount of sides. No one's going to see the threads because they're wound in, so you kind of don't have to worry about those. If you want to get really, snazzy, you can go ahead and make the filament on the inside of the bulb, but that's all up to you. And we'll come back and we'll make sure we lay out all the UVs properly, and then we'll be done. So I'm going to go make that that little light bulb off camera. I think it's self-explanatory at this point. Just cylinder in a sphere, and you should be able to put that together in the front and on the top here. And then we'll make sure all the UVs are laid out, and we'll be done. Hallelujah!